oh, here it comes, you guys. This is Clark the Shark on the most amazing, incredible, dynamic, certified talk radio genius talk radio show ever in the history of not just YouTube, but in the history of the planet Earth and mankind, but even in the history of like Mars and all those other UFO squiggly greasy peoples, those creatures from other planets. Remember, the Will Smith Independence Day, those gooey, they're so nasty, those UFO creatures from Uranus. Well, even they are like, we love Clark the Shark, the Wolfman Jack on crack at 1-800-449-8255 as I review the 1973 amazing album, Goat's Head Soup by the Rolling Stones. Now, let's frame this, you guys. 1973, August 1973. I was going into third grade. Let's see, 73, 74. Yeah, September 73. I was going to be a third grader at Parkway School in Torrance. And this album was hitting the new school year, 1973, 74. I guess, the Who Quadrophenia was around, maybe, perhaps, at this time. I'm pretty sure, or maybe this is before the Who. But there's some great music in 1973. Captain Beyond. Man, I love that album. The Brick Wall. Oh, God. Of course, the first Captain Beyond album, 1972, is incredible with Bobby Caldwell on drums. But then Sufficiently Breathless, 1973, really good album. It doesn't have Bobby Caldwell, though, strangely enough. And Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, 1973, and a bunch of other great albums. Frank Zappa albums, David Bowie, Pinups. Man, what a year. But this Rolling Stones album hit the scene, and a lot of people were like, didn't like this album or something. And I don't get that because, there was a lot of critics, journalists, fans alike who thought Goat's Head Soup was a big letdown after the incredible Exile on Main Street from 1972. Goat's Head Soup just didn't measure up or something to so many people. And me, Clark the Shark, I just disagree, you guys. To me, this album goes with those four amazing Stones albums with Jimmy Miller, Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile. This is not a bookends. This goes with those. And It's Only Rock and Roll, 1974, goes with those too. It isn't until the very drab and dreary Black and Blue that the Stones sort of run aground and you realize they're in trouble. But really, even that album, has something to offer. And the Stones kind of got a good excuse because they don't have Mick Taylor on Black and Blue. But they do here on this 1973 album that I'm going to break down track by track, and me, Clark the Shark, I'm going to prove to you guys why you are all wrong about this album. And to those of you out there who love or like this album, I'm going to prove to you guys why you love and like this album. And no, it's not just because it's from 1973 and when, this album came out, the time. I'm not saying this album is ahead of its time or behind its times or any of that. This is just a good, Rolling Stones 1973 album. It's right on the money. And some of these songs take a bad rap, and I'll even tell you why they do. Exile on Main Street, great as it is, you guys, that album even has some problems with so many filler like songs. But the filler tracks on that album are really good, whereas the filler on Black and Blue is not. And the filler on Emotional Rescue isn't as good. You really got to force yourself to like those albums. But the filler songs that are kind of lame on Exile on Main Street, Torn and Frayed, and those kind of tracks are still really great Rolling Stones songs. Just solid meat and potatoes music. Of course, they're not as great as the hits at the time for the Stones. But compared to later Stones, Torn and Frayed is fucking killer. And just all those songs, Sweet Black Angel, Shake Your Hips, the songs you're not supposed to love or like are fucking killer. So Exile on Main Street, kind of like Beggar's Banquet before it, comes away as this solid album, even though it has a lot of just crap and nonsense on the album. It's really good, solid crap and nonsense. Whereas, we see the Stones in later times, on Dirty Work and Undercover and Steel Wheels, where they run into really bad problems. And, they got an excuse, they're getting a little older. But of course, Goat's Head Soup, it's way too early in the game here for excuses. And that's why this album is good, because this album defies the critics who don't like it. And, it proves why it sold 3-4 million at the time. And it wasn't because of Angie and Do 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 Heartbreaker. It's because this is a great, good, solid album. You guys, Goat's Head Soup, 1973, the Rolling Stones, the follow-up to Exile. And what an album this is. It's amazing, you guys. I imagine this getting 2 and 3 stars or something. It might get a 4, and yeah, it gets a 4, a 3, a 2. Oh, just like Shark said, you guys, it's all over the place. Another 3. Who gave this a 2, man? Music Hound. What the fuck do they know? And, of course, Rolling Stone gave it a 3. I expected higher from them. Come on, you guys. Goat's Head Soup, Rolling Stone. I mean, I'm expecting a better, something out of them. But this album greets you on side 1 with Dancing with Mr. D, which is fucking a killer song, you guys. Love that song. I'm not even going to prove to you that one. That's fucking awesome. It's funky, bluesy. Mick Taylor's amazing. It is in the Stones at their peak. Dancing with Mr. D. Love that song. It's even kind of disco or something. Like it's anticipating that funk dance scene, and yet it's leading the way too. Great song. 100 years ago, this takes abuse from some people and critics. It's a great song. It's really solid. It breaks into that slow part where Mick's like lazy bones. And that might tick off a few people, but I love 100 years ago, you guys. Anyone that says that sucks is wrong. That's a fucking killer song. And of course, Coming Down Again. Killer, awesome song, you guys. I love Coming Down Again. Great Rolling Stones track. Slow, but good. Almost sounds like it could have been on Exile on Main Street. I love Coming Down Again, you guys. A real Keith. He's got his stamp on that one. And, of course, now the 2 hit songs at the end of side 1. Do 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 Heartbreaker and Angie. Now these songs are actually a couple of the first and early kind of cheesy, lame Rolling Stones songs, especially Heartbreaker. And, Angie, that song means something to me, of course, Angie. Love that song, you guys. But I admit these songs are cheap, they're kind of flimsy hits. They're big songs with, Angie is certainly big with the girls, and Do Heartbreaker is big on the radio. But come on, it's not the best the Stones can do, but definitely in this case, on this album, 1973, it's solid enough material, you know. So side one is really good, even if it kind of cheapens out at the end. Still, you guys, I love Goat's Head Soup because of side one. And Silver Train's just fucking killer. That is amazing classic Rolling Stones. And I did not know her name. Love it. Love Silver Train. Come on, you guys. That's fucking awesome. Now, these 4 songs coming up, except for Star Star, the closing song, which is classic Rolling Stones, Starfucker. Love it. That's a classic, you guys, that they always play. But these 3 songs, Hide Your Love, Winter, and Can You Hear the Music? These are the controversial songs on side 2. Kind of like how 1974, It's Only Rock and Roll has kind of a struggling side 2 that is controversial and problematic. You could say that about these 3 songs, but I love Hide Your Love, you guys. Almost get a Harry Nilsson vibe from Hide Your Love, like Ambush, that track with, I think John Bonham's playing drums on Son of Schmilson. And then AC/DC has that Bon Scott song that's kind of like that slow groove. Hide Your Love, I love it. I love the song, you guys. Even if people think it's Stones filler, I don't. I like it a lot. Just for that Harry Nilsson vibe or whatever, that bluesy rock and roll, slow boogie. I love it. And I like Winter, you guys. The Stones are kind of breaking it down. Some good Mick Taylor on Winter. It's a, it's a slow one, but it's a kind of a ballad, but I like it. I respect Winter more than I respect Angie, you guys. Even though Angie is the hit song on the radio, Winter kind of gets my respect, just for the Mick Taylor vibe. But, if there's one weak song on this whole album, it's Can You Hear the Music, which has the Indian, like the Middle Eastern vibe. And, it's kind of slow. I would love to redo Can You Hear the Music, reproduce it, rearrange it. I hear a little catchy part that could have been better, you guys, that song. But all in all, overall, the bluesy Mick Taylor vibe of this whole album and just the authentic down and dirty sound of this album, even though it gets commercial and pop, it's Goat's Head Soup, you guys. 1973, the Rolling Stones. This album, still respectable, still solid as a rock. No, it's not a solid follow-up to Exile on Main Street that it could have been. But if you put together the best of this album with the best of 1974, It's Only Rock and Roll, put those 2 albums together and it's almost like you got another Exile on Main Street, or even better. These 2 albums, I love them. And I even, respect things about Black and Blue, where the Stones are trying to do new things. On this album, they're not really trying to do new things. They're going with the tried and true. They are trying some weird things here and there on this album that maybe don't work as well as they could have. But all in all, you guys, 1973, the Rolling Stones, Goat's Head Soup, Clark the Shark right here, the Wolfman Jack on crack, 1-800-449-8255 from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a mere microphone, you guys. I speak into a Sharkerphone right here on the Sharky Excellence in Broadcasting Network, where I am giving you the only review on YouTube that you're ever going to need for this 1973 album that I remember growing up with, being 8, 9, 10 years old. All these Stones albums that people hated, but I liked. I could understand them, even when they slip up and they don't quite do it right. Even parts of Black and Blue, I understand that the Stones are trying to do things. Even if it's just a demo tape idea, it's a kind of a demo for what's to come, you know. And what was to come out of these three albums was Some Girls, you guys. Just an incredible album. And sometimes you got to break a few eggs and stumble and drink a few too many and stumble home in the bushes and lose your way to find your way. That's how the Stones found Some Girls and Tattoo You. Is they stumbled, they broke a few eggs to make an omelet. And I don't know, not really here, you guys, on Goat's Head Soup, 1973. The album after a classic, amazing album, Exile on Main Street. Considering that, you guys, the Stones did pretty good here. And I got to give this album like a 9 out of 10, you guys. 9.4, maybe 9.3. This is a 93 out of 100. This is a really great album. Even the filler tracks that aren't that solid are still solid. This whole album is good. And if this album is bad, it's because of Do Do Do, Heartbreaker, and Angie. It's not because of all the fucking killer Mick Taylor shit that's all over this album, you guys. 1-800-449-8255, the fabulous, amazing Clark the Shark Show. The only reviewer you guys need for all albums. Frank Zappa, Captain Beyond, The Who, The Beatles, John Lennon, David Bowie. All the music that really matters. I don't review the 1990s. Some I might do, but my cutoff is about 1990, 91. I don't go beyond that because music gets too cheap. And there's not great music like Goat's Head Soup, the Rolling Stones, 1973, you guys. No way is their music that great in the 90s. And, you know, that's why I don't touch that shit. But I do review the great times, the 60s, the 70s. Of course, the Rolling Stones, you guys, the greatest band in the world. Not really the greatest band in the world. They're not even good or great or any of that. But they're so fucking down and dirty and bluesy and authentic that even when they fuck up and they fuck around and they slip up and they're lame and they're lousy, they're still better than most bands, you guys. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, I'm Clark the Shark. And you just got the word, the testimony, the gospel, the truth, the only review you will ever need of Goat's Head Soup by the Rolling Stones. A great album, you guys. It goes with those great 4 Stones albums. It's better than Satanic Majesties. It's better than It's Only Rock and Roll or equal, you guys. But this album, to me, Clark the Shark, is important because I remember the good times in this album. I really do. Clark the Shark right here, you guys. I want you to listen to this album and buy this album. Produced by Jimmy Miller. Just for the Mick Taylor shit that's all over this, you guys. So the guy is one of the most important guitarists in the history of rock and roll, in the history of all music, you guys. It's the Rolling Stones, the Mick Taylor era. It really is, you guys. I love Ronnie Wood, you know, his sense of humor, just his disposition, his funky demeanor. But he is no replacement for Mick Taylor, you guys. 1-800-449-8255, Clark the Shark, with Goat's Head Soup, 1973, the Stones. And I'm out of here, people. Peace.